Hello, hockey fans. Well, we are less than a month away from the end of the regular season, less than a month away from the start of this year's Stanley Cup Playoffs, and it's getting really crazy. So let's talk about this craziness. We'll get back to this. Quickly too, because I want to discuss what the picture looks like. But let's talk about the playoff picture and what it looks like entering the final 25 days of the season. Wow. All right, in the Eastern Conference, the Atlantic Division remains cluttered. It's the Panthers on top with 89. The Toronto Maple Leafs made it back to second with 87. And the Lightning are still at third at 85 points. Very close race. Could come down to like the final week of the season, if not the final 2 weeks. In the Metro, the officially playoff-bound Washington Capitals have 102 points and are closing in on, well, pretty much the division. At least, if not the President's Trophy. They have a 2-point lead in that. Carolina, distant second at 90 points, but they have a big lead over New Jersey with 80. As far as the wild cards, oh boy. Ottawa's still at wild card 1 with 79 points, but the wild card 2 position has been swapped again. This time, it's Les Habitants, the Montreal Canadiens, holding that spot by 1 point over the Rangers and by 2 points over the Islanders. Columbus has descended, but they still have a decent shot, as does Detroit. Now, on to the West. In the Western Conference, the Winnipeg Jets lead the entire conference with 100 points. They've had 2 chances to clinch, but they still haven't done it yet, but they're still 1 point away from officially getting in. The Stars and Avalanche still battling for second place, and it's the Stars by 3 points ahead of the Red Hot Avs. In the Pacific, the Golden Knights still lead with 92 points, but the Kings and Oilers are now tied with 87 points. And the Kings are the second place team because they have a game in hand over Edmonton. And in the Western wildcard standings, it's the Minnesota Wild holding wildcard 1 with 85 points, but we have a new holder of wildcard 2, just like we did with the East. In the West, it's the Blues. 81 points, kind of a big lead by their standards over Calgary for that spot. Wow, amazing. So those are the standings. Now let's talk about the teams that are above the playoff line at the moment, entering this point, beginning with the Atlantic Division. Oh boy, so the Atlantic Division has turned into the division nobody wants to win. All 3 teams have been up and down lately, very up and down. But Ford is still in first place because Toronto can't seem to capitalize, and Tampa has been getting beat quite a bit. Toronto really should be in first place by now. They really should. But they're just not getting it done, and unfortunately Ford won that last game on Sunday, so they have a 2-point lead in the division. I still believe in Toronto's chances of finishing first in the Atlantic, but for them to do that, they need to. I'm just gonna be blunt here. They need to get their heads out of their rear ends and get down to some serious playing. They can't be messing around against teams like Nashville, okay? And they can't be letting teams back in games. If they keep doing that, not only will they not finish first in the Atlantic, they may fall behind Tampa and have to start. And they don't want that. No. If the Metro top 3 wasn't cemented now, then it is now. Washington is closing in on pretty much the division, if not the President's Trophy. So they may want to kind of give that up because the President's Trophy hasn't treated them well. But they're 1 point away from locking up home ice in round 1 at least. And speaking of, the Carolinas closing on that too. They have a 10-point lead over New Jersey. New Jersey is still standing strong after losing Jack Hughes for the year and Dougie Hamilton's out. They're still kind of finding ways to stay above ground in the division. So who knows? The Devils may stay in that top 3, but if they do, chances are they're going to be the 3rd place team. But hey, it's better being a wild card and having to play a division champion. Though crazy things have happened in Stanley Cup playoffs. Just ask the Panthers. And the game of musical chairs continues in that wild card 2 spot. So it's changed every week in the East and every week in the West too. But in the East now, it's Ottawa and Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens, les Habitants, are right there in that spot now, and it's amazing. They've been on a roll. They've been getting points left and right. They're 5-1-4 in their last 10, which is an ugly record, but still, it's one regulation loss in their last 10 games. They're getting points, and it's adding up. Like they managed to snag a point against the Avs that Saturday. But yeah, yeah, I honestly don't know who I want to get that last spot. I'm pretty sure Ottawa's pretty much safe, and it looks like they're going to stay in that wild card 1 spot. But wild card 2, it's crazy. It's really crazy, and Montreal needs something, especially since there have been a lot of good times for them since that crazy run to the Stanley Cup Final 4 years ago. So it would be something if they stay up there and join the Sweet 16. So yeah, the central top 3 stays the same, but I am still waiting for that change here. I'm still waiting for that. The Avs are on a roll. We are 8-1-1 in our last 10, but Dallas still gets points. They are still getting points, and for all intents and purposes, that's going to be round 1 this year. It is, because neither one of these teams are going to pass Winnipeg. Winnipeg has Central Division sewed up. They've got it. Dallas and Colorado, that's going to be round 1. Home ice would be nice, but somebody needs to beat Dallas. And it doesn't help that Dallas has a pretty cushy schedule the rest of the way, and it also doesn't help that their first game in this 25-day stretch is against Minnesota. Ugh. But yeah, the Avs need to just keep it up. And like I said, Dallas needs to fall off a bit. Like I said, home ice would be nice. Do we really need it? The way we're playing, maybe not, but you want that home ice. And it's fitting that I mentioned the importance of home ice because look what's happening here. The Kings are now ahead of the Oilers with less than a month left. And I said this many times like a broken record. If the Kings get home ice in that series against Edmonton, they're going to beat them. If the Kings had home ice in any of the 3 past series against the Oilers, they would have won those. Go back to 22. Their first time in the playoffs in this stretch. Then that was a surprise, the Kings making it, but they made it to Game 7 against Edmonton. They won 2 games in Edmonton in that series. They won 2 games in Edmonton in the 2023 series. And the one game they won last year in that series, that was in Edmonton. The Kings know how to win in Edmonton. They just got to get the home ice advantage. If they get that in that series, Edmonton's going to be one and done. Okay, who had the Blues in this position right at this point? If you say you did, you're lying. So the Blues, they have the same last 10 stretch as the Avs and the Kings do, but it seems like the Blues are really hot. They're the hottest thing in the West right now. Because nobody had this team above ground. And yet here they are in the wild card 2 spot. Ahead of Calgary, ahead of Vancouver, ahead of Utah. Now here's the thing. Those 3 teams I mentioned, they all have games in hand over them. They all have at least 2 games in hand over them. In the case of Calgary, Calgary has 3 games in hand. But with the way the Blues have been winning, I don't think it's going to matter. Something tells me neither of those 3 are going to pass them. I just have that feeling. I'll be surprised if one of them does. I'll be definitely surprised if it's Calgary or Vancouver. But St. Louis, they look really legit. Which now brings us back to this. And yes, these would be the matchups if the playoffs started right now. We get Florida and Ottawa, and Toronto and Tampa in the Atlantic. In the Metro, Montreal will cross over and play Washington. Before you think it's easy to win Washington, just remember what happened in 2010. You get Carolina, New Jersey. In the Central, Winnipeg and St. Louis, down to Colorado. And the Pacific, Kings, Oilers again, and Vegas and Minnesota. Very interesting matchups, but I do expect changes. So my story about the playoff push, there's a link above. Check it out when you can. If you like this video, click the like button. If you're on YouTube, could subscribe if you want more. If you're on TikTok or IG, feel free to hit that follow button. And I'll be back this time next week with another recap. And if anybody clinches between now and next week, I'll have videos for those teams as well. So stay tuned.